The away target, flat, mid or high climbing. Today we're going to look at some hints and tips to get best results from. A warm welcome back to Hownhall. So what can go wrong when shooting an away target, especially the mid or the very high fast away? Couple of things in my mind. If you're shooting gun down or half gun down, it's ensuring that your forward hand is your lead hand, the power hand, the hand that positions the muzzle. So often we'll see people shoot gun down, half gun down, whatever, either, doesn't matter, and the power in this case is in the right hand, and they're shoving that stock into the face to then find it with the muzzle. It's busy. It's too much labour, and it actually leads me on to the second point, which can create a miss with this type of target, and that is that rather than positioning the muzzle to the bird with the lead hand, with the nice firm committed mount, we actually power the stock up with the right hand, push up and swing through the target, and then end up missing over the top. If you're pre-mounted, obviously then you're pretty much going to eradicate a poor mount because you're starting pre-mounted. But again, control required with the left or indeed the right lead hand, depending on your orientation. No wild swinging up and pushing through. The stance is the same, it's generic, 60% weight on the front foot, nose over toes, nice and steady, nice and calm. And obviously, depending on location, topography, finding that correct hold point, be the gun pre-mounted or gun down. What we're trying to do is as neatly as possible get the muzzle to the bird with the least amount of movement for then to create a clean shot. If we've got a muzzle that's, in effect too low, offline, it's a whole heap of labour to get to the target, and that's where the problems can be caused, okay? So look at your bird, look at its line, where you initially see it, where you can connect, then to create a clean kill and exercise those points. And as I'd always say, open it up. Start a little later. Don't think you've got to get the bird straight out the trap. Let it breathe, see it, connect, bang. You can always tighten up and get more refined as you get more confident. But to start at the fast end is going to create erratic movements, a lot of labour, and potentially a lot of misses. Let's take a look at the target. Pull. Pull. This is our mid-away dolly target. I'm going to see if I can get Jack to pick this up, okay? So looking out there forward, we want to find where we're going to have our hold point. Let's have a look. Pull, bang, and again, pull, bang. Okay, so you can see the bird is going to be killed when it's, to me, it looks about 1 metre above the Christmas tree in the background, which is a bit misleading. I know you probably need to be here. It's not clear. Muzzle-wise, for the hold point, it's sort of in line with the straggly birch tree. I don't know if you can see that. It's sort of in front of the pine trees. Again, play along with me. You probably need to be, in situ. Anyway, what that tells me is that we're going to have the muzzle pretty much in line with the birch tree, okay? And maybe just off the line of the target. So on release, we can see the clay flying away. We've got time to register, to then put the muzzle to the bird, to then take the shot. This is a mid away, so the end of the barrel is going to go on the clay. And remember, the key to this, if you're pre-mounted, nice control with the lead hand, okay? Nice control. If you're half or full gun down, remember you're pushing the muzzle to the bird, stock in cheek, not mounting and then swinging the muzzle through to miss above. Now, I'm going to get my glasses on. We all know safety is paramount. Ears, head and eyes. Let's get those in place. Oh, and for anybody who's wondering, because we sometimes get these questions, chokes in this, 3/4, and we're using Hull 21 gram Compex. Hownhall, we're a school. We need a nice, soft sort of progressive load, and this is very kind to the shoulder, especially when people may mismount. So just so you got the background there. Okay, let's get loaded up. Hopefully Jack's going to capture this. Okay, here we go. And pull. Pull. So there you go, a nice calm pair. It's not the most testing of targets, but the idea is to show you the approach and the style to connect with. Just to recap on this one, the stance is nice and solid, weight forward, and dependent on your style, calm, steady lead hand if you're pre-mounted, or remember that lead hand is the driving hand if you're half or full gun down. Okay, let's take a look at a little bit more shooting. So I've trundled down to the bottom of the school. For those that are familiar, I'm actually stood next to stand 14. I've converted one of our crossing targets into an away for the point of today's filming. Now, we looked earlier at the mid-height, and that's the target where we, in effect, blot the clay out with the end of the muzzle, the end of the barrel, okay? This target here, much faster, higher. This is the one where I'm actually going to shoot its hat off. So again, I'm going to find my hold point with obviously generic stance, all nice and cool. And as the target's released, I'm going to be pushing the muzzle out too, and in effect, shooting just over the top of the clay. I'm going to load up and see if I'm lucky. Okay, shooting complete, away targets. So a little overview on what we've achieved or what we've tried to, push today as a message. Quick overview on the targets, away targets, and I said loosely flat, mid and high. Now, let's just clip back a couple of episodes to where we actually entertained away targets. If you remember, we did it on stand 10. For anybody who hasn't seen that, just go back into the channel. That was the flat target. You remember, it's a white clay flying out into woodland. And that's the one where with the universal stance, weight forward, pre-mounted, half gun down, whichever is your style, that muzzle was pushed underneath the clay, okay? Because by the time you pick it up, it's dropping, shot coming out, perfect hit, nice and clean, okay? So that's in the old episode, have a look back at that. Today we brought into a bit more detail the mid-height and then the very high away bird. Now, I noticed on earlier shooting in this episode that we actually blotted the clay out. We set ourselves up, we found our hold point. As the clay was released, we're pushing the muzzle to the clay to blot it out to take the shot. The only way that would be slightly different is if we were pre-mounted. And if you remember, I said it's having that control in the lead hand to adjust to, rather than being overzealous and pushing up through and in effect swinging upwards and missing over the top. The very last shot was down here at the bottom on the faster, higher target. And this is the one as shown. Sometimes it's a bit unclear in the filming, I know, because it's all a bit quick in the 10th of a second. But the idea then, with our hold point and everything preset, that we're pushing up and in effect blotting out, but in our mind shooting a little higher. I always think of shooting the hat off. Imagine it's got a bowler hat and you're just going to whack the hat off the top, job done. And it does work. Just remember, as with all these targets, it's generic in the setup. Okay, it is about that. I can't emphasize it enough because I see it all the time in the school. Erratic movements. I know some people are fast, some people are slow, but it's got to be controlled, skillful. Remember that Your lead hand is your driving hand. The backhand is just steadying that stock up into the cheek. What you don't want to be doing is having the backhand, if you like, strong, ripping the gun up into the face and then playing catch up with the muzzle. It's untidy, it's messy, and you know, it's going to end up in a few missed clays. So it's that nice, clean, push to and take the shot. Again, pre-mounted, control in the lead hand. Feet always slightly forward, nice, neat stance. I hope as ever we've got you forward on this type of target. You can go out and practice and hopefully get those scores up. One last final point on this, and I know this is stating the obvious, keep your eye on the clay. The one thing that will, on top of those other points, cause you to fail is if you start aiming the gun and the eye quickly comes from the clay back to the bead on the end of the barrel, if indeed you've got one. So eyes sharp, or what I've said, as soon as you see that clay, glue the eye to the clay. Don't let go of it, and then go through the motions. Really good luck, hope you've enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you again.